Rama Rama Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Jaya Gauranga, Maya Purusati, Gauranga, Jaya Maya Purusati, 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 Prabhupada, Jaya Srila Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Srila Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Prabhupada, Jaya Srila Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Srila 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 Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Srila Prabhupada.
Ashtottara Satra Shishya His Divine Grace A.C. Bhakti Vedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ananta Bhakti Vaishnava Namacharya Shri Haridas Vrinda O Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Damodara Shri Sri Guru Bhakti Vrinda Shri Shri Radha Krishna Gopa Gopinath Shyama Kunda Radha Kunda Giri Govardhan Ki Jai Shri Vrindavan Ki Jai Shri Mayapura Ki Jai Shri Jagannath Puri Ki Jai Gangamai Ki Jai Yamuna Devi Ki Jai Bhakti Devi Ki Jai Rasa Devi Ki Jai Vedanta Ki Jai Hariram Sankirtan Ki Jai Transcendental Book and Prasadam Distribution Ki Gaura Premanande Mayarigo all glories to the assembled devotees Hare Krishna all glories to the assembled devotees Hare Krishna all glories to the assembled devotees Hare Krishna all glories to Sri Guru and Gaura and all glories to Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. The lowest feet of our spiritual master, and the only way by which we can attain good devotional service. I bow down to his lotus feet with great awe and reverence. I be graceful across the ocean of material suffering and obtain the mercy of Krishna. My only wish is to have my consciousness purified by the words emanating from his lotus mouth. Attachment to his lotus feet is the perfection that fulfills all desires. He opens my darkened eyes and fills my heart with transcendental knowledge. He is my Lord and earth after earth. From him ecstatic men and mates, by him ignorance is destroyed. The Vedic scriptures sing with his character. Our spiritual master is ocean and mercy, friend of the poor and Lord and master of devotees. For master devotees persecute us and give us the shade of the lotus feet. The fame is spread all over the true worlds. We take shelter at your lotus feet. Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Our dear Lord, Sri Guru Shasi, please make us worthy of your mercy, so that all strive to make corrections and iniquities in the blessings of Sri Lakshmi, and especially in love for the Guru and the devotees. Shri Guru Nitai, Shri Mayapur, Shasi Ki Jai.
It just needs to turn you around the corner.
Shall I plug in?
Yes, please. Jayanatha Kanjabihari
Jayanatha Madhava Kanjabihari
Jayanatha Madhava Kanjabihari
Jayanatha Madhava Kanjabihari
Gopi Janavallabha Girivaradhari
Gopi Janavallabha Girivaradhari
Gopi Janavallabha Girivaradhari
Gopi Janavallabha Girivaradhari
Jasodanandana Vraja Janarajana Jasodanandana Vraja Janarajana Jamunatira Vanachari Jamunatira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kanjabihari
Kanjabihari
Jaya Radha Madhava Kanjabihari Gopi Janavallabha Girivaradhari
Gopi Janavallabha Girivaradhari
Gopi Janavallabha Girivaradhari
Gopi Janavallabha Girivaradhari
Jasodanandana Vraja Janarajana
Yashodanandana Vraja Janarajana
Jasodanandana Vraja Janarajana
Yashodanandana Vraja Janarajana
Jamunatira Vanachari
Yamunatira Vanachari
Jamunatira Vanachari
Yamunatira Vanachari
Jaya Radha Madhava Kanjabihari
Jayanatha Madhava Kanjabihari
Jaya Radha Madhava Kanjabihari
Jayanatha Madhava Kanjabihari
Gopi Janavallabha Girivaradhari
Gopi Janavallabha Girivaradhari
Gopi Janavallabha Girivaradhari
Gopijana Vallabha Girivardhari
Jasodanandana Bhajajanarajana
Yashodanandana Bhajajanarandana
Jasodanandana Bhajajanarajana
Yashodanandana Bhajajanarandana
Javanatira Vanachari
Jagunatira Vanachari
Javanatira Vanachari
Jagunatira Vanachari
Jaya Chodanitai Jaya Mayapur Sati Jaya Chodanitai Jaya Mayapur Sati
Jaya Gauranitai Jaya Mayapur Sati Gauranitai Jaya Mayapur Sati
Jaya Chita Sina Chita Sina Chita Sina Jaya Chita Sina
Jaya Shita Sina Jaya Shita Sina Shita Sina Jaya Shita Sina
Istanbul Ki Jai, Shri Prabhupada Ki Jai, Kanchwal Srimad Bhagavatam Ki Jai, Bhakti Gaur Premanandi. So reading from Sri Prabhupada Rita, Let There Be a Temple, Chapter 8. So this is continuing on the Ratiyatra trip in Australia. The Melbourne newspapers duly reported the Ratiyatra, a day for symbols and chants. Chariots top the Swami. One newspaper reported, "Don't let Krishna alarm you, cleric." The sight of the Hare Krishna youths in Melbourne streets should not alarm Australians or cause them to mock, the Reverend Gordon Powell said in Scott's church yesterday. He said the sect could be a sign of the swing of the pendulum back to spiritual values and traditional virtues on the part of modern youth. The article praised the devotees' reaction against extreme materialism and reported the events of the Ratiyatra parade. Reverend Powell, head bishop of the Anglican Church in Melbourne, had paid Srila Prabhupada a visit, and this had resulted in the bishop's Sunday sermon comment that Hare Krishnas were not alarming. Srila Prabhupada took the bishop's comments as very significant. During his week's stay in Melbourne, Prabhupada attended a large program at the town hall where he inspired a long and ecstatic kirtan with 1,000 people dancing in a circle before the deity of Lord Chaitanya. He also visited St. Pascal's Teaching College, a Franciscan seminary, and was very well received by the monks there. The seminarians asked intelligent philosophical questions, one of them inquiring about what Srila Prabhupada thought of their founder, Saint Francis of Assisi. The seminarian described briefly how St. Francis saw everything in the universe in relation to God and addressed nature's creations as brother tree, brother bird, and so on. St. Francis's own attitude, Prabhupada replied, was first-class God consciousness. That same evening, in his room, Prabhupada met with the Vicar General of the Roman Catholic Church in Australia, Reverend J.A. Kelly. Prabhupada played a recording of his morning's lecture at St. Pascal's, and after the Reverend asked if Prabhupada would pose with him for a picture to be printed in their religious periodical. Again, the newspapers picks it up. Swami spreads unity message. Prabhupada ki jai.
Jai.
Read from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 5, Chapter 1, entitled The Activities of Maharaj Privrat. Text 34 and 35. So I'll just read through 34 and go to 35. Duvinitam Kochaspatim Namo Shanase Prahishcha Yasyam Asit Devayani Nama Kapya Sutta. King Privrata then gave his daughter Rujaspati in marriage to Shukracharya, who begotten her a daughter named Devi. Text 35. Naivam
Naivam
Vidha
Vidha
Purusha
Purusha
Kara
Kara
Urukramasya
Urukramasya
Naivam Vidha Purusha Kara Urukramasya
Naivam Veda Purusha Kara Urukramasya
Pumsam
Tad
Agri
Tadangri
Rajasa
Rajasa
Jita
Jita
Sat
Sad
Shat
Sad
Gunana
Gunanam
Pumsam Tadangri Rajasa Jita Shat Gunana
Pumsam Tadangri Rajasa Jita Shad Gunanam
Chitram
Chitram
Vidura
Vidura
Vigata
Vigata
Sakrit
Sakrit
Adita
Adadita
Chitram Vidura Vigata Sakrit Adita
Chitram Vidura Vigata Sakrita Tatita
Yan
Yan
Namadeyam
Namadeyam
Adina
Adana
Sa
Sa
Jahati
Jahati
Antam
Antam
Yan Namadeyam Adina Sahaja Sajahati Bandam
Yan Namideyam Aduna Sajahati Bandam
Naivam Dita Vipurushakara Urukramasya
Naivam Veda Purushakara Urukramasya
Pamsam Tanam Vinajasa Chitashanta Kulana
Pumsam Tadangri Rajasa Chitasat Gunana
Checham Vidura Vigata Sakrita Tatita
Chitram Vidura Vigata Sakrita Dadita
Yanamadeya Maduna Saha Yanamadeya Maduna Sanjahati Bandam
Yanna Medeya Madunasa Jahati Pandam Naivam Veda Purushakara Urakramasya
Naivam Vita Purushakara Urukamasya
Pumsam Tadangri Rajasa Tasat Gunanam
Pamsam Tadam Prijajasa Chitashat Gunanam
Chitram Vidura Vigata Sakrita Dadita
Chitram Vidura Vigata Sakrita Tatita
Yannam Madeya Madunasa Jahati Pandam
Yanamadeya Maduna Sanjahati Bandam Na,
No,
not
not
Evam Vita
Evam Veda
like that
like that.
Purushakara
Purushakara,
personal influence
personal influence,
Urukramasya
Urukramasya,
of the Supreme Personality of Godhead
of the Supreme Personality of Godhead,
Pamsam
Pumsam,
of the devotees
of the devotees,
Tat Angri
Tadangri,
of his lotus feet
of his lotus feet,
Rajasa
Rajasa,
by the dust
by the dust,
Jita Sat Gunanam
Jita Sat Gunanam,
who have conquered the influence of the 6 kinds of material whips.
who have conquered the influence of the 6 kinds of material waves.
Chitra,
Chitram,
wonderful.
wonderful.
Vidura Vigata,
Vidura Vigata,
the 5th grade person,
the 5th grade person,
or the untouchable.
or the untouchable.
Sacred,
Sacred,
only once.
only once.
Adadita,
Adadita,
if he utters.
if he utters.
Yat,
Yat,
whose.
whose.
Namadeo,
Namadeyam,
holy name.
holy name.
Aduna,
Aduna,
immediately.
immediately.
Sa,
Sa,
he.
he.
Jahati,
Jahati,
gives up.
gives up.
Bandha,
Bandhan,
material bondage.
material bondage.
Translation by Srila Prabhupada. My dear King, a devotee who has taken shelter of the dust from the lotus feet of the Lord can transcend the influence of the 6 material whips, namely hunger, thirst, lamentation, illusion, old age, and death, and he can conquer the mind and the 5 senses. However, this is not very wonderful for a pure devotee of the Lord, because even a person beyond the jurisdiction of the 4 castes, in other words, an untouchable, is immediately relieved of bondage to material existence if he utters the holy name of the Lord, even once. Shukadeva Goswami was speaking to Maharaj Parikshit about the activities of King Priyabhata. And since the king might have had doubts about these wonderful, uncommon activities, Shukadeva Goswami reassured him. My dear king, he said, don't be doubtful about the wonderful activities of Priyabhata. For a devotee of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, everything is possible because the Lord is also known as Guru Krama. Guru Krama is the name for Lord Vamanadev, who performed the wonderful act of occupying the 3 worlds with 3 footsteps. Lord Vamanadev requested 3 places of land from Maharaj Bali, and when Maharaj Bali agreed to grant them, the Lord immediately covered the entire world with his 2 footsteps. And for his 3rd step, he placed his foot upon Bali Maharaj's head. Sri Jayadeva Goswami says, Shalayasi Vikramani Padamat Savamana Padanakamira Janita Janava Pavana Keshala Jita Vamana Rupa Jai Jagadish Hari Jai Jagadish Hari Jai Jagadish Hari. O glorious to Lord Keshavan, who assumes the form of a dwarf, O Lord of the universe, who takes away everything inauspicious for the devotees, O wonderful Vamanadev, you tricked the great demon Bali Maharaj by your footsteps. The water that touched the nails of your lotus feet, when you pierced through the coverings of the universe, purifies all living entities in the form of the river Ganges. Since the Supreme Lord is all-powerful, he can do things that seem wonderful for a common man. Similarly, a devotee who has taken shelter at the lotus feet of the Lord can also do wonderful things, unimaginable to a common man, by the grace of the dust of those lotus feet. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu therefore teaches us to take shelter of the Lord's lotus feet. Ainanda Tanuja Kinkaram, Patitam Vishmekuram, Kripaya Tapapada Pankaja, Stitaduni, Satrasam Pujatena. O son of Nanda Maharaj, I am your eternal servant, yet somehow or other I've fallen into this ocean of birth and death. Please pick me up from this ocean of death and place me as one of the atoms at your lotus feet. Lord Chaitanya teaches us to come in touch with the dust of the Lord's lotus feet, for then there will undoubtedly be all its success. Because of the material body, every living entity in material existence is always disturbed by Shat-guna, 6 whips: hunger, thirst, lamentation, illusion, invalidity, and death. Furthermore, another Shat-guna are the mind and 5 sense organs. Not to speak of a sanctified devotee, even a Chandal, an outcast who is untouchable, is immediately freed from material bondage if he utters the holy name of the Lord even once. Sometimes caste Brahmins argue that unless one changes his body, he cannot be accepted as a Brahmin. But since the present body is obtained as a result of past actions, one who has in the past acted as a Brahmin takes birth in a Brahmin family. Therefore, they contend without such a Brahminical body, one cannot accept as a Brahmin. Be accepted as a Brahmin. Herein it is said, however, that even Vidura Vigata, a Chandala, a fifth class untouchable, is freed if he utters the holy name even once. Being free means that he immediately changes his body. Sanatana Goswami confirms this. Yatakanchana natam yati kamsyam rasa vidanata tata diksha vidanena tvijatam jayate vidam. When a person, even though a chandal, is initiated by a pure devotee into chanting the holy name of the Lord, his body changes as he follows the instructions of the spiritual master. Although one cannot see how his body has changed, we must accept on the grounds of the authoritative statements of the Shastra that he changes his body. This is to be understood without arguments. This verse clearly says, Sajahati Bandham. He gives up his material bondage. The body is a symbolic representation of material bondage according to one's karma. Although sometimes we cannot see the gross body changing, chanting the holy name of the Lord, the Supreme Lord, immediately changes the subtle body and becomes the subtle body. And because the subtle body changes, the living entity is immediately freed from material bondage. After all, changes of the gross body are conducted by the subtle body. After the destruction of the gross body, the subtle body takes the living entity from his present gross body to another. In the subtle body, the mind is predominant, and therefore one's mind is always absorbed in remembering the activities of the lotus feet of the Lord. He is to be understood to have already changed his present body and become purified. Therefore, it is irrefutable that a chandal or any fallen or low-born person can become a Brahmin simply by the method of bona fide initiation. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare. So Prabhupada is explaining here the potency of a devotee who is, has the lotus feet of the Lord as his constant meditation. And how any contact with the Lord by his holy name can change one's body, change one's body, and to the point where material bondage is diminished. So we used to hear in this that when going down the Sankirtan how when we approach someone and give them a book, you know, everybody on the street is going backwards and forwards, sometimes like a stampede, and like they're on their way to hell, basically with all the sinful activities they're performing with great enthusiasm. So when a devotee approaches them with a book and they take the book, then they've been diverted from that path to hell to back to Krishna, the spiritual world. So so amazing is the devotional service of the Lord. It's just like Chintamani, anything it touches is benefited because it's all auspicious, it brings relief from this material distress, and so many wonderful effects are there. So what to speak of the activities of Raj Priyarat here, being able to carve out the 7 oceans and islands by his ability by following the sun god in his chariot. So Prabhupada used to say that his miracle was that to get so many so-called gurus who want to display some magnificent act, and like a magician, like one used to produce ashes in his hands or gold watch and things like this. He has some cities, but Prabhupada, his wonder was that he could transform simple people, low-born, low-class, fallen people into saints or brahmins. So in the material world, people, associations, societies, governments try to create peace in the world with United Nations, or just by sending people to prison, or and things like this. But no transformation takes place, we see. It's at the United Nations, more flags go up because another country is divided into 2, or people come out of prison. Just we see how they sometimes there's no change, and just go out to perform the same activities again because the consciousness hasn't changed. In fact, in association of other prisoners, they may try to be a better criminal. So took great trouble seeing all this. Prabhupada took great trouble to come to the West to give us this knowledge and know what is reality, how the soul is beyond the body and the mind, and a spiritual being, and as such, he's very powerful. But he's covered by the material energy. He said how because the soul is unaware of his identity as a spirit soul, then he's in this forgetfulness, so he's unaware of his potency. It's just like an elephant. How they train elephants is when they're very young, they tie them to a stake, a rope, and the little elephant he tries to tug on the stake to get free and be more free in his movement, but he can't. He hasn't got the strength to pull it out. So he grows up like this, thinking, "Oh, I'm tied to this snake," and stakes out. An elephant never forgets. So when he's a big elephant, he still thinks that he can't pull the stake out, not knowing his strength. In the same way, we're born into this material world, identifying with this body and mind, and we're troubled by these 6 whips of hunger, thirst, lamentation, illusion, invalidity, and death, and think that we're controlled by these things. Whereas in touch with the lotus feet of the Lord and His service and by His holy name, we can know that we don't have to be controlled by these whips, or that we're beyond these things. By association with the devotee, we can hunger is something we may fast and see how this practice fasting and to see how we're controlled we are by the time, but also using that time to focus on the Lord's glories. And we may undergo thirst, but if we're in service, then we should. Not saying we shouldn't look after our body, but thirst may be there, but we're not. It's not that everything drops because we're thirsty. And lamentation, the devotees acknowledge that everything has a beginning and an end, and everything will pass. And so he focuses on that which is permanent, and leaving behind the not becoming intoxicated by the impermanent. And the delusion, he's given the knowledge by his spiritual master, Srila Prabhupada, of real life, things as they are in this world and beyond. So many so-called scientists and present so many so-called facts and theories, and without knowledge of anything more than what they present, then we blindly believe them or follow them. So there's a push to present technology as the solution for all ills in the world. It'll save. It can prevent disease. It can prevent any even wars. but one in knowledge of the material world and the human nature, desires that are there in every living being, then we have the vision to see how we can't take anything for granted. That protection is always needed from such illusion, and so that we can stay firmly on the path back to Godhead. And invalidity and death, in a conditioned state, we try to distance ourselves from disease and death in so many kind of artificial ways at times, because due to our lack of knowledge of living in this world, that will bring about peace and will actually bring about peace and prosperity by living in such a way that Krishna demonstrated in his pastimes on the planet, a more rural setting. Then we find ourselves in a situation where people are proud of hospitals, how many hospitals they have, and so many doctors and nurses, and so much drugs are there. But it's just a symptom of a very sick society, a very diseased society that's so subject to disease because of its unnatural way of living, depending on artificial means for happiness and satisfaction, and not knowing what their real purpose in life is, other than to eat, sleep, mate, and defend, as any animal thinks. So, so in this way we see a degradation in the quality of life, mentally, emotionally, physically, and but still, you see people going around in the shops and looking like they're happy, or they've got money to spend, so they're happy. But people, underneath it all, they know that there's something not quite right. And some people becoming more aware of the flaws that are there in society, that we're slowly destroying the planet, so what is there to look forward to? But still, science pushes on and tries to go the same way without changing to. So if one continues the way that one tries to tackle a problem by implementing the same means as they were before, then how is the things going to change? When during the lockdown, there was very much coming together of people in that they wanted to see the business thrive or maintain, or volunteers. So many thousands of people volunteered to assist in emergency services and so on as key workers. And there was a kind of camaraderie or a deeper connection between people, and that they, because they're desperate to survive, they were kind of appreciating the fortes or strengths of the team that they're working with, for example. And like those bosses that didn't know how the value of their team, their workers, under how they rose to the challenge in so many ways. And in this way, there was a kind of deep connection. And now that the lockdown's over, many are finding that they miss that. They miss that connection. And going back to normality, in inverted commas, then they're not so much relieved by that. And see this, and also it's hanging over people's heads that there may be another wave, another lockdown. So there's a lot of uncertainty and feelings of insecurity. And he brought out so many how people locked in their homes wasn't, people complain about going to work, as I said before, but to stay at home wasn't a nice situation for a lot of them either. You see, abuse in so many ways skyrocketed. So it's another symptom of a very sick civilization, if we can call it that. So this is all because of the misidentification with the body and this world as the all in all. And just we have the good fortune to read the pages of Bhagavatam, which tell us of another realm beyond that we can enter ourselves. And Lord Chaitanya has made it so simple by chanting the holy names of the Lord. But there's a mood to it also, like he describes in the purport. I Nanda Tunachakinkara. Oh, so much, Nanda, Krishna, I'm your eternal servant, yet somehow or other fallen into the social of birth and death. Please pick me up from this ocean of death and place me as one of the atoms at your lotus feet. So the verse preceding this was Chanada Pisa Vichinata Tura Pisa Hishnana Mani Namani Dina Kirtana Sadavi. One to chant the holy name of the Lord in a humble state of mind, thinking oneself low in the strong street. And one should be more tolerant than a tree, devoid of all sense of false prestige, and should be ready to offer all respects done to others. In such a state of mind, one can chant the holy name of the Lord constantly. So to consider oneself as low than a straw in the street, to be as tolerant as a tree, then one has to call out for help. Because one has placed oneself in such a vulnerable position. So by calling to the Lord, calling out to the Lord for help, then He has a chance to show us how He will maintain us, He will protect us, He will take away that which is an obstacle between us and Him. So, therefore, it's necessary to consider oneself in a fallen position, to always seek shelter, take association, like that, and so that we can keep our distance from pride. Pride makes us blind, and it makes us think that we don't deserve what we get. In a sense of so-called disturbing situations. But by being Krishna conscious, we can see how this is an arrangement of the Lord to make us stronger, to bring us closer to Him, to the point where we do call out to Him. Because sometimes we come to a point where we can't take any more, and at that moment Krishna comes, steps in, and she just wanted to hear that, to bring us to that point so that we feel dependent on Him. And that we feel dependent on Him at every moment. And we need to, because there's danger at every step in this world. So it's good for us to discuss the evils of birth and death, old age and disease. This is knowledge. One of the items of knowledge that Krishna describes in the 12th chapter of Bhagavad Gita. And by doing so, it helps us lose our faith in our in the material nature and let go and become attached to Krishna. It's all about becoming attached and attracted to Krishna, developing our attraction, becoming more attached to the Lord, and realistic in a realistic way that's not artificial or superficial. Because we can speak so much, we can write so much, we can do so much, but is it actually connecting us to the Lord? Is it actually done in consciousness as an offering to the Lord to please pick us up? Sometimes we get carried away with success and so on, but Krishna says the result is up to Him. Ours is just to desire and to endeavour. And in this way, we feel fortunate to be engaged in the Lord's service. This is all that the pure devotee wants. He doesn't want anything else. Nadana Janan Sundarina, Bhagavatam Class, Jagadish Kami, Amma Janani Jamanishwari, Bhagavatam Bhakti Rojiki, my Lord, I have no desire to create wealth, nor do I desire beautiful women, nor do I want any number of followers. I only want your cause of devotional service in my life, birth after birth. So this is it's just like a mother when she can hear her child crying, and she can sense what kind of cry it is, so she may continue with what she's doing, and the cry may become a bit more louder, but she thinks, oh, well, maybe it's not so serious. But then when the child's cry is intense, and he's throwing all the toys out of his pram, then she knows she's got to attend to it and give him shelter. So we may go on in our devotional service and do all the things we're meant to do, perform our service and chant our japa and so on. But if we consider how we're practicing it now and how we would be doing the same things nearing our death, would our consciousness be different? I'd imagine that at the time of death we're begging for the Lord to please take us, please take us. So if we're in that condition, if we're in that consciousness all the time, then we're conscious that we do the service nicely, so that we win the Lord's favour that way, that we associate with the devotees nicely, so that we win the favour of the Lord that way. That we're chanting, begging the Lord. There's one devotee, Mother Ratnajini, who used to live here, Prabhupada disciple, and she left her body here also. And I used to hear how she chanted. It was quite, she knew before anybody else that she had something wrong with her body, but she didn't let on until it was more obvious. And but the way she was chanting, because people used to wonder, what's that oozing out of your head there? It's some kind of sore or whatever it is. But it turned out that she had a brain tumor. So she used to listen to how she used to chant. It was very quiet, but it was very intense. Just like a begging, pleading, like that. So if we can chant like we're just about to die and prove to the Lord that we really want Him and Him only, then that's our ticket back to the spiritual world. As soon as we want anything else, as soon as if we maintain any attraction for this material world, then it's back, here we come, because Krishna fulfills all desires. So we have to be careful what we desire. So at different levels of Krishna consciousness, and it's important for us to maintain that which inspires us in our service to the Lord, in our Krishna consciousness, and to nurture that, so that it will blossom. And it may be, you may find it's on a deathbed, it's the only thing that keeps us, it's our connection. So I'll ask any questions or any comments.
Yeah, I was thinking about, you mentioned about, sometimes we get carried away by success and we can get proud, and but the result is ultimately up to the Lord. And I was just thinking, is it better then if we kind of fail and things go wrong because it makes us more humble? Or is it kind of the balance of success and failure?
Well, our desire to serve, I've heard one time that our desire to serve has to be greater than our ability to serve.
Okay.
So that we may be able to do so much because we have a certain forte, a certain karma of nature. So we may be able to get results very easily in a particular way. But we have to go the extra mile and try and go beyond that to really come to a point of real surrender. Because someone may struggle to do a service, but if he's still continuing and praying to the Lord to please help me be an instrument to bring success, and I just want to please my spiritual master, then Krishna's pleased by that. If someone brings someone by his nature is able to do lots of things, or be able to bring a result that one can wow everybody, But at the same time, it's only because he has a certain ability. Then where's the surrender? His surrender may be that he's able to do double that, and this way, when the Lord in the heart can see that surrender is taking place, because we can maybe fool others, but we can't fool Krishna. And it may be good to experience that pride, and so for us to see it as a warning. How easy it is to become intoxicated by pride. It's very subtle. Very subtle. So in this way, so many subtle things are there, but just by simply begging the Lord to please protect us, please help us in our service, please protect me from Maya, please can I have a healthy fear of Maya, and then He'll protect us. It's just like Prahlad Maharaj prayed. He prayed to the Lord. I don't, just as a father knows knows the needs of his son. Please just take care of my needs, whatever they may be. So words to that effect. Just I can continue my service, devotional service. So we just put ourselves in Krishna's hands, and in this way we become vulnerable. But still, by doing that, we gain more and more faith that Krishna is there, that Krishna will maintain